All right, let's dive right in. You know, for centuries, there's been this one concept from the Bible that has just sparked so much fear and anxiety. I'm talking about the idea of an unforgivable sin. It sounds incredibly heavy, right? But what's amazing is that it becomes crystal clear when we actually go back and look at where it came from.
So, what is it? What's the one sin that can never be forgiven? I mean, what could possibly be so final that it just stands completely beyond any chance of forgiveness? Well, the answer isn't some deep, abstract theological puzzle. Actually, it was defined in a really specific, super dramatic confrontation that tells us, well, pretty much everything we need to know.
Okay, to really get to the heart of this, we have to go to the scene. We've got to understand the context. Because this wasn't just some random teaching pulled out of thin air. No, it was a direct response to a really powerful event that had just unfolded, right in front of a massive crowd.
So it all kicks off with a miracle that was just undeniable. I mean, you couldn't argue with it. There's this man trapped in darkness and silence by some kind of demonic force, and he's brought to Jesus. And then just like that, in a moment, he's completely healed. He can speak, he can see. This was not subtle at all. It was a huge, profound display of power.
And the crowd? They're just stunned. I mean, totally floored. And they start asking a question that is absolutely electric with meaning. They're murmuring, could this be the son of David? Now you have to understand, they weren't just asking if he was a great healer. No. They were asking if he was the one, the long-awaited Messiah, the promised king.
But while all the people are standing there in complete awe, the religious leaders, the Pharisees, they see the exact same event and come to a shockingly different conclusion. And get this, they don't even deny the miracle happened. They can't. Instead, they make this absolutely terrible accusation about where the power came from.
Okay, so we really have to unpack these terms, because they were incredibly loaded. To us today, Son of David and Beelzebul, they might just sound like weird ancient names. But for the people standing right there, in that moment, these phrases were packed, and I mean packed, with cultural and theological meaning.
Yeah, that title, Son of David, was pure messianic code. There are all these traditions floating around, some we've even seen hints of in things like the Dead Sea Scrolls. The King David himself was a kind of exorcist, that he sang to drive harmful spirits away from King Saul. So it makes sense, right? When the crowd saw a powerful exorcism, their minds immediately jumped to the Messiah. And Beelzebul? Well, that was a pretty well-known name for Satan. It comes from an old term for a god who is said to rule the underworld, the very place demons were supposed to come from. So the Pharisees weren't just disagreeing here. They were making the most extreme, the most offensive accusation you could possibly make, that Jesus was channeling the power of the devil himself. So faced with this insane accusation, how does Jesus respond? Well, he doesn't just defend himself. He uses this exact moment to lay down a timeless warning. And in doing so, he basically defines the unforgivable sin right then and there, in context.
He really draws a line in the sand here. He says, look, you can speak against me, the Son of Man, and that can be forgiven. But there is one specific kind of blasphemy that cuts so deep that it can never, ever be forgiven.
And here is the absolute crucial point. The unforgivable sin isn't saying a curse word by accident or having a moment of doubt. No. It's looking at an obvious, undeniable work of God's Spirit, like this man being healed right in front of him, and consciously, deliberately, and publicly saying that good work came from the power of pure evil.
But why? I mean, why is this one act so uniquely final? Well, Jesus explains it with a metaphor that everyone listening in their agricultural world would have instantly gotten. He says it's not just about the words you say, that's just the fruit. It's about where those words come from. It's about the tree. He turns to them and asks this just piercing question. He totally shifts the focus from their external words to what's going on inside, to their character. He's saying the words you speak are just an overflow. They're what spills out from what's already filling up your heart.
And this is a brilliant illustration of a core concept in Jewish thought. Think of it like this. Your theology, your core beliefs about God, that's the tree. How you live that out, your walk, what's called halakha, that's how the tree grows. And then your actions and your words, the mitzvot, or good deeds, that's the fruit the tree produces. Basically, your actions show what you really believe.
So what does that mean for the Pharisees here?
It means their accusation wasn't just a simple mistake or a slip of the tongue. No, it was rotten fruit. It was proof positive that their inner tree, their heart, their entire character was fundamentally corrupt. It was so corrupt it was dead set on destroying the very goodness it was looking at.
And this idea of a final, defiant sin, it wasn't even a brand new concept. It actually echoes something from the Old Testament, from the book of Numbers, called sinning with a high hand. And that described a persistent, defiant, ongoing rejection of God that would result in being utterly cut off. Basically, a final state of rebellion.
So, okay, how does this one specific historical moment become a timeless principle for us today? Well, it serves as a really powerful warning for every single generation, and that absolutely includes our own.
Jesus totally nails their core problem. See, they were so obsessed with their rules, with their interpretation of religion, that they had completely lost sight of the very heart of God, which is mercy. They cared more about knowing the rules than knowing the God who made the rules. And that, right there, is what made them spiritually blind.
And this is really the key takeaway from all of this. When a heart lacks mercy, it becomes hard. And a hard heart simply cannot recognize God's work, even when it's happening right in front of its face. In fact, a heart like that might even see the work of God as a threat and actually try to destroy it.
So ultimately, the fear of this unforgivable sin shouldn't be about some accidental word, you might say, or a fleeting bad thought. That's not it. The real danger is developing a heart posture, a whole character that becomes so opposed to the light that it consistently calls good evil and evil good. It's a willful, persistent, chosen blindness.
And in the end, this whole warning really pushes the question back onto us, doesn't it? It's not about being afraid of some magical phrase we might accidentally say. It's all about examining the tree, our own heart. So the question is, how do we respond when we see undeniable goodness, mercy, and healing out there in the world? Because really, our response says everything about the kind of fruit our own heart is capable of producing.